Hello dear students. In this video, we are going to discuss about chmod command. Chmod stands for change mode. This is used to change the access mode of a file. There are two different ways of doing this. One, I can use a symbolic mode where I can define the permissions with symbols. And there is another mode called as absolute or numeric mode where you can define the permissions with numbers. So ch mode is to basically define the permissions for a file or for a directory. The syntax for this is ch mode and options, reference, operator, mode, the file name or the directory name. So let us look at the options here. Now there are two options. One is -r, which is recursive. That is, when I use this r option, it also includes all the files, everything, all the subdirectories in a directory. And there is another option called as -v, that's a verbose option, which will show which objects have changed its permission. The second is the references. The references are list of letters that specifies whom to give permissions. Actually, there are four references. One, the owner, the user, the owner of the file or the directory. That's referred as U. Another is a group. We refer it by G. So these are the users who are members of the files group. And O refers to others. So others are neither the file's owner nor members of the files group. And there is another reference called as A, which refers to all. So which includes the owner, the group, and others. So UGO, it is same as UGO. So in the syntax, chmod syntax, the first one is the options where I can use a recursive option or a verbose option. The second one is the reference, that is, I can specify a letter to specify to whom I'm going to give this permission. So it could be either a owner or a group or others, or it could be all. All includes the file owner, the group, and others. The third is the operators. So I can use any of these three operators to give the permission, plus adds the specified mode. Okay, if I want to add a permission, I can use plus. Minus removes a permission, and equal, it actually, it's the exact mode. That's it. So when I say the user has given read permission, that's it. So user is equal to R. So the user is given the exact mode specified if I'm going to use the equal sign. Whereas this plus is going to add to the existing permission. Minus is going to remove from the existing permission. Then the next one is the modes. So modes will indicate what permission it's going to be granted or removed from the specified file or directory. So there are three different modes. It could be a read permission, R, write, W, or I can also use W if I want to have permission to delete a file. Then X is to execute the file. So in the case of directory, if I'm going to give this execute permission, that means I can also search the directory. So the modes could be either read, write, execute, or a combination of more than one. Okay. Now, let me explain to you how do we see this actually. As you all know, ls-l will give the detailed information about this file. So when you see here, this is the output I get for this ls-l about.txt, where you can see this is the permission given to this file. So right now we are not bothered about all the remaining. We are talking about chmod. Hence we are going to look into this. So here, the first column, the first hyphen when you see here, this hyphen is going to be the type of the file. So because about.txt is a file, it's a dash here, a hyphen here. If it's a directory, the first column will be D. Then the first set of 3 letters after the file type. So whatever I've highlighted here, this is going to tell what permission the owner of the file has. So here in this case, the owner of this file about.txt has read and write permission. So it's actually the 3 letters in this. The first one is for read permission. The second one is for write permission. The third one is for execute permission. Here you can see there is a hyphen over that execute permission column. That means the owner doesn't have an execute permission for this file. Then let us take the next 3 letters. This is going to be the users group, the group's permission. Okay, this is going to be the group's permission. So now this group is given only the read permission. This one is a write and execute. It's not given for the group. And then the last 3 letters. This is what others can do. Usually when you create a file, it's a general practice to protect the file from the external access so that others cannot write to any file or to a directory. Okay, so usually we give this we don't give write permission for others for a file or a directory. Or the same way, we can also avoid execute permission if you don't want others to execute and look. Okay, this is all about your chmod. And what is that we are talking right now? This is the symbolic mode where we represent the permissions by symbols. So as I said, the first column stands for the file or directory. Because this about.txt is a file, this is a dash. If it's a directory, D will be there in the first column. Then the next 3 letters is the permission given to the owner of the file. And always the permission is in the order read, write, execute. So in the place of execute, if there is a dash, that means there is no permission for execution. Similarly for all the others. The next 3 letters here, it's for the group's permission. And the last 3 letters is for the others, the permission given to the others who are not the user or the owner or the member of the group. Now, coming to numerical format. So, you're going to define the permission for the file, user, the group and the others as we did for the symbolic format. But here, we are going to represent the permission in the form of numbers. So, when we see here, each digit, say when I say 6, 4 and 1. So if I say this, there are 3 digits, right? So in this 3 digits, this one, the first number 6 is for the permission given to the user, the owner of the file. 4 is for the permission given to the group, and 1 is for the permission given to others. So when we see this, every digit, it's going to represent a binary value. So let me explain to you. So usually 1 means it's allowed, the permission is allowed. 0 means the permission is disallowed. Okay, let me explain to you. Say, I told you earlier, it's going to be in the read, write, execute order. So that is how we are going to give permission. So when I say, So there is a permission. So I'm going to give the permission for reading and writing. That means what? In the position of read, it's going to be 1. Then in the position of write, it's going to be 1. And for execute, it is 0. So when we take this 1, 1, 0, the binary, so this 110 is the binary equivalent of 6. So that is what this represents. So when I say 6, 6 is read and write permission. Okay, now assume that I'm going to give, so this is going to be for read write permission. Now I just wanted to give only execute permission for others. So as usual, the order is going to be read, write, execute. So I'm going to give only execute permission for others. So read is 0, write is 0, other execute is 1. So you can see 001. The decimal equivalent of this number is 1. So you can see this 1 refers to execute permission for others. Okay, so this is how it's represented in numerical format. Content is taken from. So the reference is from wikipedia.org, wiki.txt. You can see this is what I get. That means this is a file. The first column says it's a file. And read write permission for the owner, read permission for the group, read permission for the others. Now, let me try to give execute permission for the owner. So what I will do, chmod, I'm going to give execute permission. That is, I'm going to add execute permission for the owner of this file. So u, as you remember, the reference is u. Now plus, because I'm going to add, then I'm going to add execute permission to which file? About.txt. Done. Now let us see ls-l about.txt. You can see here, this was the original permission. Now I change the chmod. Now you can see there is an execute permission given to the owner. Now let me get back to the original permission. That is, I wanted to remove the execute permission from the owner of the file. So I can say chmod, u is the reference letter. I'm going to remove, so minus x from about.txt. Now you can see when I try to print it, you can see there is no execute permission for the owner of the file. Okay, now say let us go. So let us try a few more examples. Let us try with a directory now. Now let me list ls-l. There's a directory called as test here. So I can see, I try to list the test directory. It lists out all the files present in the test directory, all the files and all the subdirectories present in the test directory. So now when you see here, I have just got these files and these are the permissions given. Now I wanted to remove the execute permission from the user, okay, for the test as such. Okay, I'm not going to remove for a file, I'm going to remove it for a test directory. So when you remove the execute permission for the owner of this test directory, all the files and subdirectories present inside this test directory will have the execute permission removed from the owner. Now for that, chmod, I'm going to remove execute permission from the user for the directory test. Now here, one thing we'll have to add here is the option -r. So as you remember, this R is going to be a recursive option, meaning this permission will apply for all the files and subdirectories of this test directory. Now let me execute this command. Now let us see ls-l test. You can see here I've removed the execute permission from the user. So I'm not able to see the contents of the directory. Now what I will do, I'll just give the execute permission again. I will add execute permission for the user again for this directory. That is, I'm just going to add plus X. I'm adding execute permission for the user of the test directory. Now let me execute it. Done. Now when I'm going to see for the information of this test directory, you can see I'm able to list all the files present in this test directory, and you can also see this execute permission present. Okay, so this is how you give or remove or assign a permission to the files and subdirectories of a particular directory. Okay, now I wanted to give execute permission for the group for this directory. Okay, and I will also show you the verbose option. How does it work? So I'm going to give execute permission. I'm going to use verbose option for the group. So G plus X for test. Okay. So you know the reference letter for a group is G. I'm adding execute permission for the group. Here you can see there is no permission for reading, writing, execute for the group. Now let me give the permission. Fine. When you see this verbose permission, you can see it shows which file or directory has changed. So that is the use of this -v. Now let us see the information here. You can see here, as you see, there is no execute permission added to the group. So we have missed out one thing here. So if you remember, I will have to use -r. So when I use -r, it's going to be a recursive permission. Fine. Right. So you can see, because I've used this verbose option, it lists out all the files whose permission has changed. Now, let me print it and see. Yeah, great. You can see there is execute permission added to the group. Fine. Now, how do we use a numerical format? So when you, as you know here, numerical format is going to be a 3-digit number. The first digit is for the owner of the file or directory. The second one is for the group, and the third one is the permission for others. So as you all know, let me show you ls-l test. You can see there is some, no, this is a permission, actual permission right now. Okay, now I wanted to give read, write, and execute permission for the owner of the file and no permission for the group and the others. Okay, so how do we execute it? So chmod to apply for all the files and subdirectories -r. Now 7 entered. So 7 is, 111. The decimal equivalent of 111 is 7. So 7 is for the permission of the owner of the file. So read, write, execute. No permission for the group, no permission for others. For what? For the test. That's it. Now let us try to look at the information here. You can see there is read, write, and execute permission for the group, and there is no other permission. Read, write, and execute permission for the owner or the user of the file. No other permission is present.